Hola, namaste, and hello. I'm Sukriti Yaduwanshi from TechGig, world's largest developer community from the House of Times Internet. Folks, we celebrated the International Women's Day last month, where we focused onto ways that we look at enhancing the digital awareness for technology, for women. And now this particular conversation or theme, let's just say, is something that we cannot just cover within a timeline, as it requires a lot of persistence and evolution with time. And digital literacy is very important for all of us, as technology is a very important component to bring in the equality that all of us in the industry are trying to strive for. To deep dive further into this, I am in conversation with Sarada Vempati, who is the Executive Vice President, Head of Enterprise Functions Technology at Wells Fargo India and Philippines. Welcome to the show, Sarada.
Thank you so much for having me, Sukriti. As you mentioned, I'm Sarada. I work for Wells Fargo. I take care of what is enterprise functions. If you look at it, enterprise functions includes your HR applications, your legal, audit, compliance, risk. So these are the applications that ensure that from a corporate standpoint, we work well. And that's what I take care of for the region.
Wonderful. Thank you for the brief introduction and telling us about yourself, Sarada. Quickly jumping on to what I have in terms of the queries that I have for what we're going to discuss today. Basis your experience in the industry, tell me, how would you describe the changes that you've observed in the demand for women talent at the workplaces?
Sure. I think of it as two different portions, right? In the earlier part of my career, what I noticed is the demand that we have for whether it is a male colleague or a female that's working in the industry is very similar. We are constantly being challenged, learning new technologies, applying them, making sure we are learning as well as contributing to the industry very quickly. That part of it is very significant, and that goes across all of us. In the second part of my career, what I noticed is the demands are very different. Most of us work for MNCs, very large corporations which have a presence all over the globe. Stakeholders sit across wherever you pretty much can think of. And at the same time, the family demands, as well as the requirement that you have to spend time at home, increase. Evening calls, kids' homework, making sure that you are staying on top of multiple assignments that are coming from the work, as well as your personal reasons, is pretty significant. How do you balance it out? How do you ensure that your career progression is not being hampered because you have other commitments, other requirements? This is what happens, and even more so for women, because we are the primary caregivers for our family across regions, and irrespective of whether we are in India or anywhere outside of the location, it is the same set of demands that we have. How do you make sure that you balance and you continue to grow is what I think is the second portion of the proportion of the careers that we see.
Thanks, Ada. I think that very well actually explains the timeline of the observation that you had all this while when it comes to looking at the women talent, especially at the workplaces. And I'm sure we have evolved up to a certain level. And all of us are doing our bits to actually contribute to up to a level wherein we can all say that we have done our jobs. Moving on to the next one. From the global perspective, can you share your views on the opportunities today in the tech industry and the ways it can be made available for all genders?
Sure. During COVID and post-COVID, there has been such a huge change that has happened from an availability of roles, specifically in the tech industry. The availability of jobs, the acceptance of training, the acceptance of working remotely has helped everybody, and even more so for women employees. Both of these have a very distinct advantage from a training standpoint, as well as work for our women, as well as even more so for our girls. What I see is this has become the leveling field for our women, and I'm seeing that during COVID, as well as post-COVID, what I have noticed is there is a distinct change across the globe. The acceptance of training as well as work remotely has been very significant. This has become the leveling field for our girls as well as for our women, both from employability as well as being able to learn more and apply that across the industry. This has been, I'd say, the biggest advantage that we got from the last 2-3 years in the industry. The other thing that I constantly see, and this is a very significant challenge we face, is the lack of senior women as well as role models that we can look up to as they come into the industry. So one thing we notice is this is not going to be solved in a day. This will take years as more and more senior women and the future generations come and occupy those roles. We will be able to create that and show that, hey, it is possible. There is no glass that cannot be broken. There is no position that we cannot work through. And it is all about us being able to apply ourselves and be willing to take the risk. And this is going to come through when we have enough role models in the industry. And that I see as a changing landscape. We already see that today, and it's going to be even more significant as newer generations come into the organizations.
Absolutely, Sarada. I think when it comes to passing on the legacy of the right approach, it is this that we kind of look at the norms that we are trying to build and the kind of contributions that all of us have tried to put in. Now, the next one, you look at roles from the global perspective, and you have an experience of the same as well. Now, what role does an organization play in actively hiring women in technology and mentoring them for leadership positions?
Sure. I'll take the example of Wells Fargo, right? I've been in this company for the last more than 3 years right now. We have a number of programs to ensure that we attract, we develop, as well as give them the ability to succeed in the organization. So I'd like to first start about women in technology. This is actually an internal network, and it is self-driven community of women across the globe. And in each of the locations, we have these women who are ensuring that we mentor, we help as more and more women come into the workforce, right? But the one thing that I've seen is the allyship. It's not just women helping each other, but making sure that our male colleagues are part of the conversation, understand it, and they realize the benefit that we have from a diverse workforce. So, for example, we have a program called Golden Time. It's a very unique program because here we are asking our male colleagues to figure out how to have those conversations. There are a lot of inbuilt biases that come with us. Rather than us as women driving these conversations, we are asking the male colleagues to lead the conversation, sit around a table with other men, have a woman colleague to be a part of the conversation, but be very open in a safe environment, talk about it, right? The other thing is the sponsorship. How much ever we talk about mentorship and how important it is, the thing that really makes a difference in a woman's career is the mentorship. Wells Fargo has 2 critical programs specifically within technology that helps drive that sponsorship. One is at a senior manager level, at a director level, where we take some of our best talent and pair them up with senior leadership from across the globe, help them through their career, give them the opportunities that would not normally come across. I'm actually part of one of the programs that has been going on for the past multiple years, where the OC members, this is the global OC, that's Charlie and his directs, mentor as well as sponsor senior women across the globe. And I'm super excited to be a part of the program because this gives me the ability to work with somebody who's very senior, take up opportunities that would not normally come, and also have an ally on my side as my career progresses through this organization.
So, Sarada, the strategies that we look at, I must say, is very important, and the way it is being executed is equally important. Everybody is trying to do their bits, and it is like a both way round that works. If you're offering something, it's the other way around also for women in tech to look at such opportunities and utilize them well for their careers. Moving on to the next one, what is the importance of the digital awareness and the accessibility for women working or studying remotely? Because as you mentioned, COVID has actually kind of reversed the roles and added on a lot of badges and responsibilities to women, especially working no matter what field we are working. But a lot of things have changed for us when it comes to accessibility and being more digitally aware. So, just tell us about the importance that this whole digital awareness actually holds and the accessibility that actually we can look at even though we are sitting remotely.
That's one thing, right? I mean, we cannot talk about how important it is because it is so important, right? When I look at it, one of the things that we as Wells Fargo have done over the last multiple years is work with an NGO called Demand. This is to enhance the ability of the kids, the girls in underrepresented communities in smaller towns have access to digital learning, as well as introduce them to the benefit of using technology for their personal growth. Get them young. That's what we feel is the motive. Make them familiar with the technology, make them confident, make them take away the fear aspect with technology that comes with a lot of lack of knowledge, right? Most of the time, the lack of knowledge is what drives the fear of what happens. So when we started working with Nirman, this started during COVID. As you can imagine, digital learning at that infancy, mainly with remote kids, government school kids in very, very small towns, is not something that a lot of people were thinking about. A number of volunteers within Wells Fargo worked extensively with Nirman as well as all of these school kids in making sure that they understand what is technology, what is cybersecurity, how can you be safe when you're on the internet, how can you do programming, the basics of Python. And we started as an initiative with 100 kids. Now, believe it or not, in 3 years, we will have 8,000 girls that will go through this program, be able to write pieces of code, develop their own programs. And the best benefit of this is we are ensuring that they understand technology, they're not afraid of it, and they're actually looking at a future in technology. That's what the benefit of digitization is. And when you talk about it, then UN said that this is going to be the year for ensuring that we have digital equality. That's where this comes into place.
Wonderful. So, we spoke of the changes, the demands, and the whole exclusion that we've observed past couple of years. And now, so that, these challenges would always be looked at as, problems that can be solved at different ways and different means that can be used. Could you describe some of the policies that can actually encourage the entire recruitment and training for women of different backgrounds, for that matter, and not just in technology, right?
So one of the things that you would notice, right, I'd say maybe even 5 to 10 years ago, if a woman took a career break for family reasons, for whatever reason it is, it was so hard for them to get back into the industry. Even more so because technology keeps on evolving. How do I catch up is the biggest concern that all of us have. If I take a step back, will I be able to ensure that when I come back, I'm going to be on par with what's happening with the industry? But in the recent past, most of us recognize, including Wells Fargo, that it is super critical for us to tap onto this workforce, give them the ability to come back into our employment and be able to contribute. There are 2 aspects that come from it, right? We are tapping onto a section of workforce that hasn't been. And the second part of it is for the women, it's a huge thing. The personal gain of ensuring that they have the stability, the financial success, everything that we talk about from a job goes back to that. The stickiness of these employees is also going to be very significant. So both sides, it's a win-win for us. So we have launched a program called Glide in 2017. We were definitely ahead of the curve in this one, where we take women who have taken a career break, whatever reason that could be, we want to bring them back in, but we just do not want to bring them back in where we say, hey, here's a job, go ahead and figure out how you're going to be successful. We are there to handhold and ensure that they integrate with the work as well as become very productive quickly. We give them the training that's required. We give them the mentorship, and we do everything that helps a cohort of women each year to be successful. And this has been the most rewarding programs that I've been working on from the time I joined Wells Fargo, specifically because everybody has the right to make a personal decision from their career standpoint, but it should not hinder them from going back in there and be successful. And this is something that is definitely close to my heart. And the success we have had with it is something that I'm very proud of. And we continue to work through that. And this year, again, we are doing it. So if a person makes a decision for taking a break, we should respect it. And we are there to support them when they're ready to come back.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sarada. I think, thank you. It was very important for us to have an understanding of the individuality and the kind of support that each organization is actually putting out to the employees out there. And thank you for giving us a walkthrough of all the initiatives and programs that you're running at Wells Fargo. Right. I think our audience, especially people who are looking at career breaks or looking at initiating their career in terms of giving them a fresh start, would definitely make a note of what you've shared with us and look at being a part of Wells Fargo. Thank you once again for being here with us, Sarada.
I truly appreciate the time you have given me and looking forward to future conversations.
Thank you so much. And folks, that was Sarada from Wells Fargo, who's talked to us, spoke about all the initiatives and all sorts of programs that not only women but all gender types can actually take in, and talking about the digital awareness and the accessibility, even though you're sitting remotely. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Stay tuned to TechGig for all the latest tech updates. Thank you so much.